Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So in this video we're going to be looking at the announcement that Blaze made regarding 64-bit coming to Evercade in the shape of Glover. Now we're going to look at the details and we're going to look at the possibility of what other N64, Nintendo 64 games we could see on Evercade. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, before we look at some of the Nintendo 64 games that could possibly come to Evercade, let's have a look at the details that are on evercade.co.uk website. Now the first thing that jumps out to me is this screenshot, which clearly doesn't quite look like Nintendo 64 to me because the graphics look quite jaggy and clearly the anti-aliasing has been turned off. Which, you know, maybe that's one of the things I've had to do in order to get this game running properly on Evercade devices. Will this run on the original Evercade device? Hard to say. Will it run on a Super Pocket? There are obviously questions that we would love to know. Also, this is Glover. This is coming to Piko Interactive Collection 4 in April, and it will be this first 64-bit Nintendo 64 game coming to Evercade. And they've had to rebuild this from scratch using a company called Swap Labs, and they're obviously manipulating the code to try and get this game to run properly on Evercade devices. They'll obviously have to make some changes, maybe to the graphics as you see there, and probably the controls, to remap the controls to the shoulder buttons for camera, and maybe obviously make sure that the game can run properly on a D-pad and not dual thumbsticks or a thumbstick. Obviously we don't have that on Evercade. Will that change in the future? It's surely something they've got to have to look at some point, is maybe updating the controllers or updating something so that we can get games with dual thumbsticks of any nature. But anyway guys, that's the details there. They're obviously going to have to make some changes to get this to run on Evercade devices. I don't think we're suddenly going to see loads of Evercade N64 games anytime soon. We won't see Super Mario or Zelda, for example, but I'm pretty sure there's some games out there that we could see on Evercade. Let's have a look at some of the details. Obviously they're hitting at the bottom there that we will see some more 64-bit games on Evercade, but what could that be? Let's have a look at some of the possibilities. So our first possibility could be a dual cart with Chameleon Twist and Chameleon Twist 2 from Sunsoft, which could be a high possibility, you never know. I think it's just going to have the same issues with pretty much most of the games. Control issues, camera issues, that sort of thing. So a lot of work would have to be required to get these games to work properly on Evercade. Would they run? Hard to say. Could be a possibility though. Okay, so Duke Nukem 0 Hour was something that was requested a lot last year when we got the 2 Duke Nukem carts announced. Could we see this game? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Trying to actually play this game on emulation is an absolute nightmare without proper controls. Now, obviously we've got dual thumbsticks on a lot of devices these days, but they still seem to be a nightmare to actually control. The mapping's all over the place. So if we got them, I'm pretty sure we would need a lot of work inputted into the controls. Now, just in the same theme, Duke Nukem 64 is a possibility, but given the fact that we already have the PlayStation version, it's highly unlikely that we'll get the Nintendo 64 version as well. But you never know. I actually think this version is probably better than the PlayStation version. It looks nicer. I can't really remember playing it much. I'm pretty sure I did play it back in the day and probably owned it as well. But I can't remember, did they censor a lot of the stuff inside the game? I know Nintendo were notorious for censoring a lot of stuff in games. I can't actually remember. Anyway, it seems to play really nice and it looked a lot better, sounded a lot better, but it's probably unlikely that we'll see this version.
It's tail time.
So this could be a possibility from Crystal Dynamics. This is Gex. There was quite a few different versions of this on N64, on PlayStation, and loads of other formats as well. This could be a possibility. Could it run on Evercade? Hard to say. It's going to have the same issues with relation to a lot of the other 3D games as well. Control issues, camera issues, all sorts. So obviously it's hard to say. It looks really nice. I'm not really sure if it was a great game though. Now this is probably more like a wish list rather than a possibility. Now Hexen and Quake and probably even Doom as well had versions on N64. Could we say them? Now we'd obviously need to get licensing from ID Software who own the game, so I don't know, there's a loose possibility. Maybe we'll see these games throughout this year. Maybe Blaze will surprise us and we'll get this a couple of carts with Hexen and Quake and Doom and all that sort of thing throughout the year. But which version would they choose? Would they choose the N64 version? Would they choose another version? Honestly, I really don't know. I think the actual versions on N64 were very, very good, especially Quake. But again, just like the other games, it would be a control nightmare. We'd most likely need some sort of dual thumbsticks or something to play this. Would it work on a D-pad? I really don't know. I think this one would be really troublesome. But anyway, it would be nice regardless, but I really think they would have to update their system somehow so that we have dual thumbsticks to play these games properly. Okay, so Turok the Dinosaur Hunter on N64. These were huge games back in the day. There was quite a few of them, that have been 3 or 4. I can't really remember. I owned the first couple. I wasn't really a big fan of them. I thought control-wise were a bit of a pain to actually control. Even on the original N64 controller, I thought they were an absolute pain. So even getting these on Evercade, I think they would be just as much a nightmare, if not even worse. Now, there's no doubt they were really decent games, but I think they were really held back by the really awkward Nintendo 64 controller. It just made it a little bit more tricky than they really should have been. But there were no doubt some really good games. Will they come to Evercade? Honestly, I don't know. A possibility, maybe. Okay, so delving a little bit into the new retro games that have come to N64 in the last couple of years. This is Super Kiwi 64. It's quite clearly been inspired by Banjo-Kazooie, which isn't obviously a bad thing. It's very cool, lots of lovely graphics, nice gameplay, music is fantastic. Will we see it on Evercade? I really don't know. It's probably a big if, to be honest. I think the fact that this is running on Unity is probably going to tell me it's not going to happen anytime soon. Which, for me, I think Evercade really need to look into the possibility of getting Unity games working on Evercade, because that would open up a lot of doors for me. And this one costs only a couple of quid. You can play it on Steam or download it on itch.io. It's a fantastic little game. It's brilliant stuff. Okay, so this is Cavern of Dreams that was released on Steam late last year, and it's very, very nice, but unfortunately, just like the last game, it's running on Unity, so it's probably unlikely that we'll see this on Evercade. Now that's, for me, as I've just said, I really think it would be great if we could get Unity games on Evercade. Hopefully it's something they're looking at, because it would open the doors to so many different style of games that you see on Evercade, Xbox and PlayStation. Brand new retro style games using that engine. Now, this looks really nice. It's clearly been heavily inspired by sort of Banjo-Kazooie and 40 Winks maybe, and even your sort of Super Mario style 3D games. But I think this one is probably unlikely until we get Unity onto Evercade. So final game we're looking at is Dragon's Sword. Now this was an unreleased game that Byteswap Labs have now picked up and trying to sort of put finishing touches to it and get it released. Obviously Byteswap Labs are the company that's helping Blaze with the Evercade N64 version of Glover. So there's a high possibility we could end up seeing this one on Evercade. Not entirely sure if it would be like a single cart game or it would maybe just be added to an Indie Heroes style game. So we could possibly possibly see this as part of Game of the Month throughout 2024 or even later into 2025, but there's certainly a very high possibility we could see this on Evercade. It certainly seems a little bit rough. This is the prototype version I'm playing, but maybe it's got promise and we could see it at some point. Okay guys, so that's a selection of games we might see on Evercade at some point. I think it's really hard to say what games they're going to choose and what games they can actually license. Let me know guys, what do you think? What games do you think we will see on Evercade? What gems have I missed that you would love to see on Evercade systems? Thanks again for watching and we'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.